World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is World News in 5 and I'm your host, Steph Vicente. United States President Donald Trump says the month-long ceasefire between the United States and Iran is barely holding, describing it as being on massive life support. Speaking at the Oval Office, the BBC reports, U.S. President Trump said the truce remains in place but called it unbelievably weak amid ongoing tensions. Iran recently submitted a counteroffer outlining conditions to end the conflict and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but President Trump swiftly rejected it, calling the proposal totally unacceptable. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghai defended the offer, saying it was both responsible and generous, and warned that Tehran would act to protect its interest. The proposal reportedly calls for an immediate end to hostilities, a halt to U.S. naval actions, security guarantees against further attacks, and compensation for war damages, while reaffirming Iran's control over the strategic waterway. Despite the ceasefire largely holding since April, occasional clashes continue, underscoring the fragility of the agreement. President Trump also accused Iran of backing away from prior commitments involving its enriched uranium, insisting that the country will never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. In other news overseas, Israel has approved the creation of a special military tribunal that could impose the death penalty on hundreds of Hamas militants accused of war crimes during the October 2023 attack. According to CNN, the measure passed overwhelmingly in Parliament with strong support from both the ruling coalition and much of the opposition. The new law establishes a dedicated court to prosecute around 400 captured members of Hamas's elite Nukba force linked to the assault, which killed more than 1,200 people and resulted in 251 hostages. It also provides a legal basis for capital punishment in cases involving genocide. Officials say it may take several months before the tribunal is fully set up and trials begin. The court, to be based in Jerusalem, will hold public, recorded proceedings, with some hearings broadcast online. And finally, the European Union has agreed to impose sanctions on Israeli settlers and key figures linked to Hamas following a consensus reached by foreign ministers on Monday. According to Al Jazeera, the measures targeting settlers accused of violence against Palestinians in the West Bank had been delayed for months due to a veto from Hungary's former Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The blockade was lifted after the appointment of new Hungarian Prime Minister Peter Magyar, allowing the sanctions package to move forward. The sanctions will target 3 Israeli settlers and 4 settler organizations, though their identities have not yet been disclosed. Meanwhile, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said the move signals that extremism and violence will carry consequences. Israel condemned the decision, maintaining its stance that Jewish settlements in the West Bank are justified despite international opposition. And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.